So we're continuing on in Advent this week. It's the second week of Advent, the Bethlehem's candle, reminding us of faith. And we talked a little bit about faith in Sunday school this morning, and hopefully that was helpful. In keeping with our practice, sometimes we have a story in place of a sermon, and so we'll do that again today. So our Advent story, Bethlehem's candle of faith. They sat on the window ledge of the inn, watching in amazement at the constant flood of people coming into the little town of Bethlehem. They had never seen such an assortment of people, men and women and boys and girls and toddlers and infants of all shapes and descriptions, from all over Samaria and Judea, from the north region of Galilee to the far south, even into the wilderness as far as Egypt. The Roman ruler, Caesar Augustus, had declared a census for all those under his power, that each one should return to the town of his ancestors so they could be counted for tax purposes. And so Jews scattered all over the Near East returned to their ancestral homes, their towns and cities. And they came to Bethlehem, the city of David, house of bread. Residents hosted relatives. The inns were filled to capacity. Tents and crude shelters dotted the hills outside the town limits. The two little candles, looking somewhat out of place among the oil lamps of the day, perched on the rustic window ledge, their little flames flickering in the afternoon breeze as the sun was throwing its last warmth of the fall day. With his sturdy donkey in tow and a young woman, obviously great with child, on his arm, a burly, muscular young man approached the door of the inn. Urgency was in his voice as he inquired about a room for the night. His wife was close to birth. He needed to find her a safe, quiet place. There was no room at the inn that night, was the word. And quiet? Good luck with that. People were everywhere. Unrest was in the air. This census was enough to rile even the most peaceable. And so, squaring his shoulders, pausing for a moment by the window where the candles sat, the man, a Galilean, judging by his accent, was about to continue his search when his thoughts were interrupted. "Did you say something, Mary?" he asked his wife. "No, I didn't. Perhaps someone passing by made a comment," she replied. And she heard it again through the window. No, it came from the candles on the ledge. This was strange, but with all that had happened in the past few months, nothing was going to surprise him now. First, there was the incredible story his wife, then his fiancée, had told him about the angel and the message about a son, the Son of God. And then the news from Zachariah and Elizabeth about their son, a true miracle after being barren for so many years. And Zachariah was struck mute in his disbelief initially. And then the angel that had appeared to him, telling him to take Mary as his wife, and that the boy's name was to be Jesus, for he would save the people from their sin. Joseph, he paused, and then he leaned into the windowsill, appearing just to take a rest. But he was listening hard. He heard the candles, first one and then the other, talking over each other. "There's no room here. Not a place in town. Never seen so many people. Never heard so much noise. Better try the outskirts. Better luck out of town." Joseph listened almost in disbelief. "You should try the shepherds. No one hangs around them. It'll be quiet at least." Joseph nodded. "Thanks. I appreciate it, I guess. Never heard a candle before, much less two." Maybe I did get too much sun today and not enough water. Mary's always after me to drink more water. So he turned and led his wife away from the inn down the path. On the hills in the distance, he saw a group of shepherds leading their flock into the fold, attached to what looked like a tower. We'll ask them for some help, he said to his wife. Maybe the candles were right after all. Sure enough, inside an hour they were safe and warm and dry in the watchtower. The shepherds had taken them in without question, almost like they knew Joseph and Mary were coming. They had taken care of their donkey, showed them the living quarters in the upper floor, where they had often cared for newborn lambs, watching over them that they would not be injured while their skin was very tender, wrapping their tender legs with strips of cloth. No sooner had the couple got unpacked, had a simple supper, and were getting settled for the night, when they noticed on the window ledge of their room the same 2 candles. Mary saw them first and heard their little voices. "We're glad you found it," they said. "You'll be fine here. There's a stream just beyond the hill for cool, clear water." "Thank you," Mary replied, almost amused at the comical scene of talking candles. "How did you know where to go? Where are you from?" We just know," said the candles very seriously. "We're not ordinary candles. We're Advent candles from far, far away." "I see that you're not like any candle or lamp that I've ever seen. What is an Advent candle? And where is far, far away?" Mary's curiosity was getting the best of her, despite her growing uncomfortableness with the life inside her. "Well, in our church, that's like a synagogue," the taller candle began. "We celebrate Advent, which is a season of waiting and preparation for Christmas. That's when Jesus was born. And we help our church family by reminding them of certain things." "I," said the taller candle, "am the candle of Bethlehem, which reminds us of faith. And I am the prophet's candle of hope," chimed in the shorter candle, who was a little bit stout and still out of breath from the quick journey from the inn. "What brings you here, Mary?" asked the Bethlehem candle. "Well, the census, I guess. I couldn't bear for Joseph to be gone and for me to have to stay alone in Nazareth. I'm close to my time," as she looked down on her very pregnant figure. "I was remembering the prophet's words on the journey here about a ruler that would come out of Bethlehem, who would be a great shepherd for his people." Joseph, who had just been listening, broke in and said, "I too was remembering those words, and so I wasn't too surprised at your suggestion to look among the shepherds for a safe haven." "What do you mean by being a candle of faith?" inquired Mary. "Well, faith is not just agreeing with something. That's just agreeing with something. Faith is trusting someone and acting as though it's true, even when you can't see the whole picture," replied the taller candle. "Just like you two are doing. You can't see the whole picture. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you are trusting God to lead you, provide for you, and protect you as you follow what light you have. If you knew everything that was going to happen, you wouldn't need faith, because you would have sight." "Yes," Mary agreed. We don't know how this is going to work out, but we trust the word of the prophets and the word of the angel of God. And soon, maybe tonight, we are going to have a son. And we will call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sin. We don't know how he's going to do that either. But Joseph and I have decided to trust God and to go forward in this journey, regardless of what it costs us, regardless of what others think. Some already think that we're crazy, and some think we are very great sinners. "Well, it's been great talking with you, Mary and Joseph," said the candles. "We've got to get back to Wimborne, because Advent worship is about to start. Blessings on you both. Keep trusting God and his word." And with that, the 2 candles flickered off the windowsill and shot off through the now black skies, 2 tiny flickering lights heading northwest. Soon, out of Mary and Joseph's sight. The pastor opened the church that morning and turned the lights on in the sanctuary, straightened some chairs as he walked through the rows, brushing his hand along the chair backs as he murmured words of prayer, words of thanksgiving and intercession, asking God to bring those who needed to be in church that morning. He got to the front of the sanctuary, and as he was passing by the Advent candles and wreath on the front table, he noticed that the two left candles looked tired. How could this be? How do candles look tired? Well, they were leaning a little to the side, almost bent over. What was going on? Who had been messing with the candles? This will never do, he thought. I can't have tired-looking candles for Advent. And just as he was about to take the two candles out of their base and replace them with some fresh, straight candles, he heard them say something. He remembered his conversation with the prophet's candle last week, still wondered if he had lost his marbles, but this time there was not one, but two. What was going on? Hey, did we make it back in time? What day is it? Did we miss the service? The questions tumbled out of the candles. It's Sunday morning, guys. Where have you been? You look tired. The pastor blurted out before he had a chance to look around to see if anyone else had arrived, because the head usher usually arrived well ahead of time to prepare. And he hadn't told anybody, except his wife, about last Sunday, and he wasn't prepared for everyone to know about the candles this year. Well, it's a long story. We made a quick trip back to Bethlehem and had a chat with Mary and Joseph. You've got to be kidding. That was 2,000 years ago. How'd you do that? Asked the pastor in disbelief. We're Advent candles. The two candles replied matter-of-factly. We can do stuff. And I am the Bethlehem candle, said the tall one. I thought I'd better do some research to be able to do my job. Your job is to get lit, exclaimed the pastor as he raised his hands in exasperation. No, my job is to remind people of faith during Advent, replied the taller candle. Bethlehem was a place where some great faith was exercised when Christ was born. We only had time to talk to Mary and Joseph. It's a long ways. But we could have talked to the shepherds. We could have talked to Zachariah and Elizabeth, to Simeon and to Anna, if we would have had time. And I guess we could have tracked down the wise men in the Far East if we would have had a few more days. So, what did you learn? Asked the pastor, curious now. What did Mary and Joseph have to say about faith that would help us prepare for Christmas? Well, she said that they just trusted God to do what he said he was going to do, even though they didn't know how it was going to go or exactly what would happen. It's funny, they seem very peaceful and full of hope, even with all the turmoil around them.